So I've been practicing for a little while. I think maybe right now 30 years of doing Zen practice. I live 12 years in community doing residential training. 4 years with Korean Zen and 8 years with Nupaya Zen Center. More familiar with this kind of practice. Um, right now there is so much going on in the marketplace and relate about practice, about spiritual practice, about meditation, and also about Zen. It can be very confusing when you enter into this practice. Sometimes it's not quite clear. Although for some of us or some people maybe can be too strict or too tight, and we want to explore more. It's almost like when you go to a restaurant or to a place to eat, and then they sell only just coffee and pastry. And you can go to another when they have more variety of food. Some of us we go, okay, we just I want coffee, that's it. And then other of us we want coffee, sodas, pizza, noodles, almost like a buffet. But at the same time, when you enter into this practice, if you are not clear what you are doing, it's so confusing. It's like when you don't see, when you take bunch of medicine or supplements, but you don't know what they are for. It can be very confusing. It's something dangerous for your body. And then I came with something through these years that I call Zen Salsa. So that's my teaching, Zen Salsa. Watching and teach Zen Salsa. Yeah, something like that, dancing. And then this salsa stand for, it's like a acronym, stand for the the S, the first S is about about sitting, and the A is about awake, and the L is about letting go, and the S is about selfless, and the last A is about action. So first we go with sit, is a talking of chicantaza. So first you need to understand what we mean when we are sitting, when we are meditating. What is Zen meditation? And just give you a little you know uh, introduction about Buddhist Buddhist meditation. So the Buddha came in the time of the Buddha when he was practicing. There was already a meditation practice. The yoga, the yogis. There was already sense of meditation practice. And what is very interesting about the word meditation, the word meditation is a Western term that somebody translate and use it. Meditation is more used in the let's say this way, more in the Catholic terms, and the monks that then meditate. They meditate, in the Bible, in contemplation and reflections. So that meditation word comes from that spiritual practice. And if when you trace, you know, the sutras or reading in Pali, you're gonna find the word bhavana. So bhavana means cultivation, something that you cultivate, like a people working in the fields, so they cultivate the ground. They cultivate the plants to harvest the food. So that is bhavana, and somebody translates as meditation. So, but that's what the Buddha talk about bhavana. Let's put it bhavana practice. So you cultivate, but what you are cultivating. So the cultivation is about sati, is about translating as a mindfulness, means about awareness. So you are cultivating this awareness, this present moment, this right here, right now, this. So everything that we do in zazen or in meditation is to be cultivating this awareness without any filter, and to realize when we are off. When we are off is when we get involved with, in this case, most of the time with our thinking. The thinking make us to detach, or to, I will use the word detach from this present moment. So we are in something else. There is a filter. So your body is here, but your mind is not here. So it could be a memory, or it could be something about planning, something about the future, and you disconnect from your body. And so the Buddha uh, uh, wrote one of the early sutras. There is the Satipatthana Sutra. There is the Sutra of Mindfulness. It says this is the way how you meditate. This is how you practice. And very quickly, it's quite methodically. Not go to the details, but when you see it, so the fears that you contemplate, it's almost like an insight meditation approach. Uh, but before I go there, so the Buddha say, okay, he developed this practice of insight meditation, vipassana meditation, the based in the mindfulness sutra. And then there was another one. There's the shamatha practice. This is the concentration practice. And then he later developed the loving kindness practice, working with phrases. So that's, I would say that that is the three main practice and Buddhist meditation. That is why this is three. That's it. Or you are doing concentration, or you are doing vipassana, or you're doing loving kindness. If you are practicing mantras, it will be concentration practice. If you practice visualization in Tibetan Buddhism, it's concentration practice. So that's it. And from that, develop many, many, many variations. Loving kindness is quite sense of concentration practice. They're using phrases, but you are building the field that your practice can grow, like the concentration, because sometimes, or karma, or consciousness, or sometimes the emotions, the feelings, what is going on. Sometimes this is a big blockage that doesn't allow us to go to develop this practice or meditation practice. So if you have a skillful teacher, going to tell you, do loving kindness. Start accepting yourself, loving yourself first, and that you can develop the other two. And that is a very wonderful practice that talking about, is not loving kindness, it's talking about the Brahma Viharas. So that you practice loving kindness, you practice compassion, you practice sympathetic joy, and you practice equanimity. So equanimity is the last. So it's really, really practice. It's not about just feeling good, what sometimes we find in the marketplace and the website, and just nice quotes to feeling good. It's not that. It's more than that. So okay, so you have this, and then talking about the Satipatthana Sutta. Wow, it's just the time is going flying very quickly. So the Satipatthana Sutta is uh, uh, you start with the form. So what is the form? It start with your body. You practice first with the form, with your body, realizing that you have body. And then later you go to the sensations. So you contemplate and you cultivate to awareness or mindfulness of the sensation. The sensations is the interaction that you are having with this life, with this reality. And the Buddha said, these only three levels you can categorize these three reactions about your interaction with life. It's very simple. You like it, you don't like it, or neutral. That's it. If you like it, you're gonna lean towards. If you don't like it, you're gonna push it away. If it's neutral, so just you are quite sense of careless. You don't notice what is going on, and so you notice about that sensations, and then you go, okay, you had the form, you had the sensation, then produce something, produce a mental formation, and then the Buddha say, just you contemplate that, just be aware of that. What is going on in this abstract? So it involves the perception, the sense of perception, and then go to the end. So the end is consciousness. The end is the big screen with everything happening. When you have a painting, you need to have a canvas, and that way you paint, and you see the picture. If you don't have canvas, you cannot see the art. So, and that's okay. And where we go into Shikantaza, and then there are two ways to practice. Oh, but before when you enter into Buddhism, most of the teachings for beginners, for people, is to build concentration. That's what they give you. Pay attention in your breath, count in your breath. So because the concentration is going to stabilize your mind. You got to have a sense of stillness first. Then you can see through what is going on. Okay, so here, um, and when you enter into Buddhism, that's going to teach you. Pay attention on the breath, count on your breath, be mindful of your body, just to learn how to be grounded and learn how to be present, to learn how to be right here, right now. Okay, so and then so there are two techniques very quite popular, and then one is the practice of koan or the practice of shikantaza or just sitting. And the practice of koan is a concentration practice that you practice in that story and you work with the teacher. That through that concentration and the interaction with your teacher, you can see the insight or the breakthrough of the koan, of the reality, the what this koan is trying to teach you. Okay? And the other one, the just sitting, requires a lot of faith in this practice. And I would say the koan practice, I would say this a little more, how can I say it? It's like a coffee. So one practice like espresso. That you put it in and get a strong shot of caffeine, and you have your inside. And maybe Shikantas is like a cold brew. They get very slow, you know, very slow process. So it gets you the same effect. So it's quite long way, but requires a lot of faith in the city, because the approach of Shikantasa is that you are already Buddha. That is the premise. You are already Buddha, so you don't have to do anything. You are already awake. But we don't believe. We don't believe. It's like that. They say, oh, this is awakening. Oh, this is, yeah, this awakening, that's it. I said, no, you want something special, something more. So in that, with that, so you had to sit, you know, many, 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 many thousands of times, sitting, just sitting. But to do Shikantasa, it requires concentration. If you don't have concentration enough, what you're gonna spend most of the time in your sitting is gonna be daydreaming. So you have to build concentration. So when you start sitting and doing the approach, yeah, you go to the breath just very quickly. Our teacher taught me how to do it. So you go to the breath, you connect with your breath, you follow the breath, and then you connect with your belly, and you can imagine that here is this kind of imagine it's a circle, almost like when you drop a pebble into the pond, they make these waves. So you can imagine this attention. First, you start uh, bringing your attention and your concentration and then in and out of your breath. And then later you expand this awareness, holding your concentration on your whole body. You start really, really realizing your whole body breathing. You know, if you are lucky with that level of your concentration, you start expanding more and more and more. And there is a sense that when there is no this me and outside, there is no anymore in and out. It's just this harmony and this melting down. There is no separation. You have that sense of, let's put it, this kind of experience or awareness. And that is shikantasa. And then the shikantasa, to make it happen, your anchor is the posture. Your anchor is your posture, is your sitting. So there is nothing more. It's a yoga practice. It's a yoga. When you do yoga, but you do many asanas, and Shikantasa just doing just one asana. I did one for half an hour. And that you know, if you are lucky, but thoughts comes and the whole thing and start thinking, and then your practice goes that way. So you start again. So it's almost Chicantas is almost like to try to make this pen like this stand up. That's gonna do it for half an hour. So you have maybe 2 seconds of Shikantasa and then goes away. So that is the practice of your sitting. But with the pass of the time, you realize, and we go into this Buddha Dharma, and you realize what is Buddha Dharma. You realize that your Buddha Dharma is your life. 24/7. Buddha Dharma no, is not only when you come here and bow and doing the bells and the whole thing and wearing the rags. So no, Buddha Dharma is the 24/7, the way how you hold yourself in your everyday life. That is the Buddha Dharma. Holding the precepts. The precepts is the track. So, okay, I just check the first one, the sit. So that's how you do. So you learn how to sit. So you are sitting. And the second aspect, so the insight of the vipassana practice is to see what is going on. So you bring mindfulness. So you have concentration, but not just concentration, because if you do concentration, you go into a trance. And if you go into a trance, you are doing something else. You are not doing Zen. So you need to have a little, and also concentration can be, if you are no, if you don't check with a teacher, so concentration can become a repression practice. So that you hold here, right now, right here, you isolate for everything. And then any emotion that you might feel, you push it away, and then just become repressed. And then you repress bunch of stuff, it become psychological, become very shadow stuff, and later it's gonna kick out. So concentration, you have to have just I would say, the right amount. When you have concentration, so you open your awareness. So you practice with your breathing. The breathing is a track. It's like the wrong way of the airplane. You got and then the airplane takes off. So you have the breathing as a your wrong way, just to be present, be here. When you are, let's call in this zone, you are sitting, you draw the breath. You draw the breath. And just be here. And start to just to be aware what Bernie Glassman Roshi used to say, bearing weakness. So the term of bearing weakness is other way to say Shikantasa practice. So that's, and then yeah, so you open and you are mindful. And so this mindfulness is gonna give you the insight. It's gonna understand you what is going on. The first insight that you have is when you are sitting. The first insight is you realize that you have thoughts. First, that you have body, later that you have thoughts, and the another early insight is that you realize that you are not your thoughts, that there is something bigger than what you are experiencing. In the past, when you were not practicing, the thoughts, your thoughts, they were so familiar to you. You were so identified with those thoughts that you really, this is me. But when you are doing practice, you start bringing more this awareness, this consciousness bigger, and you see the thoughts as a thoughts. And this is a big insight. So and then you awake. So what is this awakening? This awakening is to see the reality. What is it to see the reality? To see the reality of impermanence. To see the everything is changing. To see, to experience this flow. And when you experience that flow, obviously there is um, a pleasant feeling, you know. I think all of us, we have been in love at some point in our lives. I hope so. When you feel in love, what is the feeling? Well, you lost yourself. You're thinking about the other person, and you sense it's expanding. You include the other person into your life. You know, you don't love like this. You know, close it off, selfish, and that. No, you share. You want to share. You know, with other person. Probably, if you get married, your life. You know, but that sense. So that sense, you know, is pleasant, and then you want to stay there. You want to stay in relationship, or when you are in love and honeymoon, and you know there is no happen. And what happened here is that you learn how to let it go, this chasing enlightenment. When you stop chasing enlightenment is the real awakening. It makes sense? You realize that that craving, that I want to get there, I want to get there, I want to get there, more sessions and that. And you want, and then there is a point in your practice that you really realize that force. And when you let it go, you realize the session and your work, there is no difference. So just you move to one thing to another and to another, and that is Buddha Dharma. So just you flow. Okay, right now I am with my wife. Okay, in the next hour I am giving Dharma talk, and the next hour I am working here, and the next hour I have to take a shower. And just mindful 24/7. That's the best, you know, to be that way. But okay, so you go into this sense of letting go, and the letting go means no attachment. You start learning not to be attached, understanding permanence. And then we go into the oh into the L. No, L is letting go. Yeah, and then coming into the selfless. So here this is a big, I would say it's a big thing. This is the whole point of this practice, to understand this non-self, this selfless. And this selfless is when you realize that you are not separate for anything, that you are in constant relationship, and you realize that you are not independent, that basically you are interdependent, what Tinglahan calls interbeing. This is the sunyata, that you realize that you need the tree to breathe, the food, and then the people who cultivate the food, all those interactions. So you realizing that nothing in this world can be exist by itself. So just causes and conditions come into play. So that is the selflessness. So when you realize that, so that you feel connected with everybody. So it's coming the other part of compassion. But let me get the lane of Princeton asked Princeton about compassion. How you become compassion? Oh, in this compassionate world. Well, it's a big job. It's a big job because unfortunately, through generations, we are becoming more and more and more self-centered. This create more and more into self-centered. Everybody, I think, now has a personal phone. You maybe many of you didn't experience when there was the phone in your house that you had to share with your brothers and sisters and your parents. And also, if you didn't have a phone, there was a public phone. And in Mexico, you had to put some coins, and there were a line, people waiting to make a call. So it was more sharing. And now everything is becoming more private. And these things make you and your mind unconsciously to create a big identity. And that big identity becomes attachment, and this attachment reinforce the self, the illusion, the illusion. So to get rid of that is going to become more harder. It's going to become harder because that is the conditioning that we have. So give you example quickly is just that's beautiful. I'm gonna say it. Yesterday, I was watching on YouTube one of the doctors, alternative doctors, about food and things like that. And it's the World Cup now, and then how you hear about this guy, Harlan, the Norway player, Harlan, Erling Harlan. It became a big name, no? And then oh, this guy is like a cyborg and punches top and half human, half machine. You know, but the doctors say there is nothing special with this man because this man is getting back the way how we used to eat and the way how we used to live. He just talked about the discipline of this man, and even it's not a discipline. It's the way how human beings should behave. Just normal. It's a normal human being, and we make it a special. Could you see where we go with this mind? What is normal right now starts to become a normal. And the same, if the Buddha will come here and open this door and say, "What you guys are doing here? What is this? What? I didn't. I didn't create those things." He would say, "You guys already Buddha. You don't have to practice. You already." So that's the Zen. It's take you to who you really are. But with this conditioning, because we are moving more, we are moving more away from this humanity, sense of humanity, the sense of sharing. So this is example how our conditioning gets. And I will give you another story quickly with when I used to teach these teenager retreats. These teenager retreats, I got, oh, taking so much time. I'm sorry. Suppose didn't have anything to say. They didn't hear about the teenager retreat. So they come and they give away the funds. And then they meditate in the morning. Half a day is in silence and meditation, and then the afternoon is more interacting and do a little workshops and small groups. But what they found, it's just quite, it's amazing but also ridiculous, because what they share, they say, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful to talk to people like this without phone, to have just a meeting, to be sitting in a circle and share, because they are not getting used to anymore." And it was a big thing for them. So anyway, so that's why becoming more difficult for us to be compassionate, but we need to, always we need to have hope and be optimists, and the way how we change the world is just one by one. Well, if you have a resources and you can create a big impact or make it a foundation or something like that, you know, you can we can create more impact into this society about compassionate. But it's to our conversations, through our relationships. And then this meditation practice, these things that you are doing, first of all, don't take for granted. Don't think that you are wasting your time. So when you get out here, many people are gonna benefit from your practice because you are interacting with them. And that's why they get the compassion. And sometimes, in my own experience, before I became a teacher, the whole thing. So I noticed that people lean to me to talk, and then we went to listening, something about listening, you know, and just people they found some kind of trust, and it was just because they practice. Your practice, radiant. Let's put it this word, radiant to other people to see, and they lean to you, and they start talking to you, and sometimes you have a deep conversation when you listen and just listening. And later, people they start to ask you, they say, "Hey, I heard that you meditate. What is that?" And that is why you plant the seed. Oh, there is a place here that I go, and that's it. And then the action is, and through everything that we do in our lives, you know, and Dogen say every activity is sacred. Every activity is sacred. To have this kind of setting of mind, everything that I do in my life is sacred. It will change the whole thing. The way how I eat, the way how I go to bed, to sleep, the way how I hold myself in my everyday life. And then the practice of mindfulness is to realize what are the things that are contributing to continue growing in this Dharma, and what are the things that just depleting me. They take me away from the suffering. And that's what we are learning. And then listening is the whole thing. Listening. When you are doing Zazen, the first thing that you are learning is to listening to your own heart when you are meditating, listening to your own body. Counsel, I heard that you do counsel here. Counsel is about listening practice. You know, the Native American people say listening to the spirit. And there is a beautiful name, um, and the Dharma, and it's munching. So munching means listening heart. If somebody has to give the attention, to give full attention to you. That's related with listening. Oh, my practice says right now, bunch of a bunch of ages now. My practice right now, besides what is going on with my health and aging, as one age, and my right now my practice is in the sangha, and the sangha. How can how can I transmit this and practice still pure, sincere, you know, and listening to the sangha, what is needed without without throwing away the tradition, without honoring the ancestors, without honoring the lineage. So it's part of it, but with new, I would say, with new flavor. So that's my edge. That's my qualm. I want to stop here, and I'm sorry. And then you have 12 minutes for questions. That's yeah.
Hi.